We live now. I'm playing the music.
Okay. Good evening. If you are in Zambia, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be viewing us from. This is TV BAKWETUS, and my name is Mapanzi Nkwilimba, and I bring you another episode of Hearing from the Constituencies. This evening, we have the pleasure of hosting the Member of Parliament for Nalolo, Honorable IMANGA WAMUNYIMA. Honorable, can you just greet the viewers so that they can welcome you?
Good evening, viewers. I hope I'm clear. I hope you're having a good evening this lovely Saturday of March.
Thank you so much for finding time to join us. And this program is about what is happening in constituencies, what is happening in wards, especially with the CDF and the operations of the ward development committees. And it's a program that we have every Saturday anytime from 20 hours for about an hour. And so we are inviting anybody who would like to appear on this program in the future to let us know. Now, Honorable WAMUNYIMA, first of all, I think let's begin from the point of knowing you. Who is Honorable IMANGA WAMUNYIMA?
Well, thank you very much, Mapanzi. I'm a lawyer by profession and a young politician. I have combined private sector and civil society experience at the management level. And basically, I'm a son of Nalolo.
Great. So were you born in Nalolo, or your parents are the ones that were born in Nalolo?
Both my parents were born in Nalolo. I was born in Lusaka.
Okay. So how did you become interested in politics?
Well, growing up, we often visited Nalolo, and technically I can say I desired a passion to serve the people there, because having my roots there, I saw the clear opportunity to offer myself. As you may know, the constituency now in its current form desired leadership. So I thought I should take the chance and opportunity to serve the people.
So that's great. And which party sponsored you?
I was sponsored by the Party of National Unity and Progress, whose president is Mr. Ivy H. Hamdudu. And yeah, so they gave me the sponsorship, and I stood on their ticket.
Great. And I hear that you are the youngest member of parliament.
Oh, yes, I am. I just turned 30 last month, and it's actually thrilling to know that in this 13th National Assembly, I will be the youngest until we end the session.
That's great to know. That's really great to know. And I just want to encourage you with other young people who are in parliament. You are our future. So we are counting on you as the older generation passes on the baton. Yeah, now we would like to talk a bit about this CDF. Is it something that your people in Nalolo constituency are aware of?
Yes, they are. Upon the pronouncement that the CDF had been increased significantly to 26.7, we undertook sensitization in the constituency. Obviously, CDF has been what it is. It's always existed, but never before has it been pronounced as it is now, because of the significant increase. So people know. I took a tour of the constituency, and in conjunction with councillors, we are sensitizing people. So it's the jump from 1.6 to 25.7 million has really sparked a huge interest in people trying to know what CDF. And I've provided leadership in my constituency to send the message.
That's great. So in terms of making preparations on the ground to be able to utilize the resources that are coming, what has been done on the ground?
First of all, primarily, people have been told how they can access CDF. Secondly, we've undertaken sensitization meetings on formation of cooperatives, and we have used the the council, who's empowered by the Local Government Act to form what development committees, WDCs, that in turn submit proposals from the wards to the CDF committee. So as I speak now, in the constituency, we have ward development committees in each ward. Nalolo has 12 wards. So the ward development committees have been formed. And what is happening now is identification of priority projects.
So how is the participation? Are people enthusiastically participating in community meetings that are generating project ideas?
Yeah, the participation for now is, how can I put it, is not as I expected it to be. In terms of at what development level, it's really unbelievable that you know, there was so much ignorance about CDF for the preceding years. So it's only now that interest is being sparked, and even application for bursaries, even where there's desperate need, is really a problem now, because people are trying to understand how this is happening, how this can be accessed. So it's that is what's happening. But we are encouraging the people to understand that development is taking a bottom-top approach as opposed to a top-bottom approach.
Yeah, you know, that seems to be really the challenge, even where we are here. You know, is it because people are shocked, they don't realize that this is real?
Well, I think the reason is because we've not had decentralized leadership in terms of physical decentralization, which can really send a lasting impact as we are having now. So there has never been in the history of this country so much resources going down to the grassroots. So people are really trying to get to understand the administrative and political you know, procedures, guidelines that surround the access to these resources. So I think the biggest problem is that because the resources that used to go to the wards or to the constituencies then were not consistent, so the interest was not much. But now it's sparked so much interest because of the amount. And I'll be very honest with you that there has not been as much sensitization to the electorate or to the citizens on what, you know, CDF is all about in the recent past.
So really, as much as we are talking about the slow pace at which the communities are responding to this, what do you think about the institutions themselves that are supposed to be facilitating this process? For example, the local government, the councils. Is your council prepared for this? Are they ready for it, or they are also in a way trying to adjust on how they can manage this resource?
Well, I felt initially that the councils were not prepared. Looking at the capacity building levels and the subsequent increase, what I'm seeing now is them trying to do their best. And obviously, that is why, as members of parliament, we were of the view that the CDFC, which is the CDF committee, is strengthened enough to support the local government structures. So far, the councils seem to be doing their best. We'll only be able to have a clear a picture of really how successful this will be with them after the end of this financial year. But I can promise you that it's going to be a challenge really, because all these WDCs, especially in rural constituencies, need a lot of training and capacity building for them to understand that, you know, they are also the game changer, and it's gonna be a teething year for this CDF.
That's you are right. You know, especially as you have said in the rural communities, this is something huge. Now, you know, you participated as a member of parliament in reviewing the CDF guidelines before they were released. Do you think that the form in which they are they cast in concrete, or this is a document in progress, that there will be room to still look at some of the areas as we learn if they need to be changed?
I don't think they are cast in concrete.
We have lost the honorable. I hope he will be back soon.
Yeah, sorry, we've lost him, Mapanzi. I hope you will be back soon.
I hope you'll be back soon. You know, I was asking him, you know, about the CDF guidelines, and I think he was going to say that they are not cast in concrete, and there may be room to change as we learn. I think, you know, it's
yes. Come back, Mapanzi. Please continue with him.
Okay, lovely.
He's back.
Yeah, we had lost you, honorable. Okay, you are back.
So what I was saying is that it's not cast in concrete. The guidelines need to develop, and this year will give us a clear picture of how efficient they are. First of all, you know, the guidelines are providing for loans, you know, loans to women and youth, which is a new thing to the CDF. And in the context that, you see, when you look at our councils, they don't have business development officers. Who, you know, the management of a revolving fund that should benefit youth is going to be a challenge on an aspect of capacity. So they are not cast in concrete. They should. This is a litmus test for them, and it will form a basis on whether which the CDF Act itself of 2018 should be amended, or whether it, in its current form, is sufficient to provide, you know, provide the necessary mechanism for implementation.
That's right. You know, from from what we are learning already, you know, we are already asking questions. For example, I mean, the Ward Development Committee is a very important structure in the implementation of this program, right from the generation of project ideas to implementation. But already we seem to be sensing that certain things are supposed to be done by the council without the involvement of the Ward Development Committee. For example, the procurement process. And maybe we are all still learning, and these things are going to be clearer as we go. Don't you think that if the Ward Development Committee is going to play a central role in implementing projects, shouldn't they be part of the procurement process instead of leaving it to the councils only?
Well, I agree with you. That could have been the best case scenario, but the biggest challenge we have is aspects of technical capacity within these Ward development committees, and You know, the biggest challenge I think we have with CDF, and which we have had, is the efficiency of the procurement committees. You know, the Minister of Education did report to Parliament not too long ago that in the country we had a number of schools that had blown off roofs, and most of these schools were CDF projects actually. So it tells you that the level of procurement really, is it meeting the criteria of right cost, quality? The council needs to have an ad hoc committee that must double check its procurement processes. And, that is the only way the CDF can be efficient. Because that with 1.6 million kwacha CDF, we've had a problem with the quality of work. Now we are taking 25.7. It now increases the demand of strengthening the procurement processes, and that currently, as you may be aware, ZPPA guidelines on procurement are not strong enough to put proper checks and balances on most procurement entities in government. So I agree with you. There needs to be a way, and that is why it was our proposal that the CDFC, in conjunction with the Member of Parliament, must have an ex officio member sitting on the procurement committee of the council to be able to see that this procurement is done in the best interest of the project. And that in the guidelines has been subjected to approval by ZPPA. So let's see how it happens and how it's going to work.
Okay, that's great. And I think it would be really good, in a way, even if there was somebody sitting from, for example, if my ward presented a project, and during the assessment of contractors, I think it would be educative for me, even if I was not an informed procurement person, because that would be part of capacity building for members of the ward development committees in the procurement process. And I think that it will also build confidence in the whole process, because right now, looking at where we have come from, the challenges that we have had in the past, it's likely to be an area where maybe members of the ward development committees will not be too happy that they are left out of the procurement process. But anyway, as you are saying, let's see what we learn from the process and see what happens from that.
Well, agreed. Definitely, you see, the ward development committees must play a role, which is makes them involved. But look, the decentralization part of the CDF is still not is still not realized to its fullest potential, because all these projects are still sent back to the Ministry of Local Government in Lusaka for approval. So if it's going to be called decentralization, which I feel is the plan and the intention, subsequently then provincial ministers must approve these projects, so that if it goes from WDC to CDFC to the council, then to Lusaka, is too long of a process already, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really, it's going to be a challenge. But now, when you look at all these factors, ward development committees will be dealing with, huge resources, and they have had no experience in doing that. And yet, we have already started the year. What is being put in place to ensure that, the process of establishing effective structures to manage this resource are jump-started?
The biggest challenge, Mapanzi, is that the councils have a key responsibility to give basic training to WDCs, and the training of which there has not been much time, because I should believe that all the constituencies in Zambia were finalizing this WDC issue or selection right about December. Then you have January, schools are open, and the WDCs have to do selection of bursary beneficiaries. So there's not been enough time to give these WDCs training, and because these WDCs are expected to function in such a way that CDF resources are not retired back to the central government, and that the application and use of these resources is subject to time. So what is being done on the ground now is to expedite the training of these WDCs. It's quite a big challenge in rural constituencies where you have challenges with transport, like in my constituency. For you to get on the western side of Nalolo, it's you can't go train and come back, So, but what is happening now is actively pushing that agenda to get these people trained so that they can function.
Yeah, great. Yeah, let me just do a bit of marketing at this point. These programs, they run on stars that you viewers give us. So if you are able to give us stars, please do so. You will see where there's a yellow star on the screen somewhere. You can click on that, and then that link goes to Facebook, and you can pay something. That's how you give us stars, and it helps us to run these programs. Now, Honorable, in some constituencies, late last year, they were still receiving the 1.6 from last year. Was that the case with your constituents? And if it was, how quickly have you managed to utilize that 1.6 if at all it has been utilized?
So thank you, Mapanzi. I inherited a lot of projects, unfinished projects. I just had to select what I want to carry on with. As I speak to you now, in theory, the 1.6 million quarter is exhausted in my constituency because, I did not want to discontinue some of my predecessors' programs. I feel that leadership must be about continuity and collective responsibility. Even though I did not feel that some of his projects were a priority, I did recommend some variations here and there, which Ministry of Local Government approved. So that 1.6 million was coming into the coffers of constituencies at a time when constituencies already had projects. Speaking for my constituency in particular, we had pending projects. So as it stands now, in theory, it is exhausted, and we are doing buildings of teachers' houses, building of 1x3 classrooms for schools that do not have proper infrastructure, and all we are waiting for now is the next batch of this 25.7 million, which we've only received 635,000 meant for bursaries.
Yeah, sorry, there's a lot of noise from the background. Is it coming from Mr. Muya, or where is that noise coming from? Yeah, please, if it's Mr. Muya, just make sure that you mute yourself when you are not talking, and then you can unmute yourself when I ask you to talk. That will help us to minimize the noise in the background. Oh, great. Okay. I can see that is Mr. Muya, and if there's anybody else in the background, you can help us to bring them so that they can participate either by making contributions or asking the honorable some questions. Mr. Muya, do you have any comments to make?
Easy has it been? I think people always like asking how difficult. How easy has it been, Honorable, for you to be able to rally fellow young people with you in the constituency to foster development, particularly in a rural constituency? Has it been challenging for you?
It's not been easy because obviously we are trying to bring in a narrative that would encourage the young people to depart from, playing soccer, from fishing to, being more impactful in society, like them, acquiring TVET skills, them being able to produce desks for their schools within their constituency. So it's been challenging because with being a young member of parliament comes with a lot of mindset change approach to the task of representation. So I can honestly say that what I inherited or what I found is a situation where there was very, very little energy or motivation for the young people to actually think outside the box of the normal routine. So it's not been easy, but what is interesting is that there is a favorable response because they have seen that if we can have, a young representative who understands, the challenges that we face of lack of sponsorship after successful completion of grade 12, one who understands lack of employment, obviously, we can get headway. So to answer you, Mr. Muya, it's not been easy, but it's something that we're doing, and we are changing the narrative in that aspect.
Any follow-up question, Mr. Muya?
Yeah, thank you. Honorable, I have a huge passion, particularly for young people with disabilities. And your constituency being rural, and in all this conversation that is happening, there's one category of people that are always being missed out. How are you running, promoting the participation of young people with disabilities, or in the general aspect, persons with disabilities in the ward, development from the ward level, is bringing it up all the way into the council? Over, Honorable.
Mr. Muya, I do sit on the Constituency Development Fund Committee, and I have deliberately given the political will and advocated for participation of people with disabilities in projects from as basic as zone level to WDC, and what I feel would be the challenge with this is that it is not sufficient enough because it's not something that you can measure, it's not something that you can check. So I'm looking forward to working with the Ministry of Education. And it's good that you've raised this topic, because I was just discussing it with one of the journalists in Western Province from Diamond T, Marcus Sakvita. You know, we would like to find a way of increasing education opportunities for people with disabilities from primary school level. And this is a gap. It's a huge gap. I must admit, it's a huge gap where, you know, the deaf, the blind, and so forth may not have a classroom or be integrated with fellow pupils, therefore denying them access to education. So in the rural constituency, it's quite difficult because of the facilities, the infrastructure. So I'm happy that you've asked this question, because it's something that I want to bring to the House of Parliament, and that the Ministry of Education must be compelled to give an opportunity through government schools abilities. And you know, this comes with it among the, you know, the teachers that should be recruited. The pending teacher recruitment should include you know, teachers who can attend to, you know, people with special needs and with disabilities. I would like to agree with you that it's greatly overlooked, and I'm alive to that, but it's something that I'm a strong advocate for myself.
Great. I think earlier on you mentioned the challenge with the bursaries, the fact that the response has not been impressive. I think that's what we are experiencing as well, where we are. What do you think? I mean, if at all, I think the deadline is actually the deadline is 18th March, by which children that need support should apply. Now, in a case where this allocation for bursaries is not utilized, is there room to shift those resources meant for bursaries to something else? I think I haven't seen anything in the guidelines that would guide us on that.
Well, unfortunately, Mapanzi, that's why I'm saying it gets back to your question when you said, are the guidelines cast in concrete? No, they are not cast in concrete. They're a working document. I'll give you an example of my constituency, Nalolo. We do not have a single functional boarding school in the constituency. So these beneficiaries of what is bursaries are expected to find places outside the constituency. So with the introduction of free education comes a situation where even schools outside the constituency are already full, because those who dropped out of school are actually coming back to school. So it is after the deadline of 18th March, as a CDFC and as area member of parliament, we are going to request local government for us to use the resources to improve the schools that we have by building dormitories, etc. You will see that we have weekly boardings where young girls are renting, you know, in villages, and you know, as good as boarders, except that they're weekly boarders. So why not build them dormitories and improve the existing schools by giving them boarding infrastructure and having the Ministry of Education gazetting them as boarding schools. So the guidelines do not give that option. But that's the next option that we will have to compel local government, because you have a situation where there's no boarding school, and you only have a few that have places outside Nalolo, like Sefula, who go to Sefula, who go to Senanga boarding school. So initially, these resources should benefit the constituency. They should be within the constituency, and for this to really be practical and realistic, existing infrastructure must be improved. We have schools functioning as boarding schools, but without infrastructure. But that does not make them eligible to access the fund, because see, remember that when you access those boarding fees, they are transferred into the school's account, because the school must provide meals, must provide prep facilities. So in actual fact, even those schools that are functioning as boarding schools but are not gazetted boarding schools are not eligible, to sponsor pupils, for this. So here comes the real challenge now. And, it is our intention to ensure that if the resources are available, they should not be retired back to central government. They must now be moved to be used to create boarding schools that can truly benefit the would-be beneficiaries.
I think that is really that is critical, and you people in parliament, you who are already leaders, I think that's one area that you have to be on the lookout for, because very soon, every word will be saying, we haven't utilized this money for bursaries. So I think the area, some guidelines, some direction is provided, the better, so that the resources can be quickly used in other critical areas. And obviously, creating boarding places where there are none right now, that would be an area where these resources could be used, so that come next year, there will be people will be better prepared to sponsor children in those boarding schools. Anything else that you have to say or ask the Honorable MP?
Yeah, I think he's just opened the other lens, Honorable. The fact that rural areas do not have, most of them, some constituencies will lack the boarding facilities. It brings to mind, Honorable, the aspect of investing resources in the social protection services under our ministry. And I think the challenge is if we are going to approach development, Honorable, in silos, where we want to move CDF as it is in a manner that might not be able to interface with other social protection programs. I know I've heard of the keeping girl child in school, and I think that is a real challenge, particularly children that go to the week 5 days boarding, then they have to go back. What else can we do as citizens to rally and provide this meaningful and integrated development and design of these programs? I know from the legislative side, maybe is there something we can do as citizens ourselves to support that process? Clearly, we are seeing, I'm agreeing with you with that, government. We don't want to return the resources to central government, but those children require to be supported. How can we integrate that approach with what is happening in social welfare, especially the keeping girl child? I think it could be a donor supported project.
Well, Wamunya, that's a good question. What you're saying just confirms my belief that the implementation of CDF must be multi-sectoral. And every ministry must be involved at district level. What is there now is that it's a local government show, which is a big challenge. And because we need the Ministry of Community are actively involved in, giving the necessary technical approach to keeping the girl child in school. We need the Ministry of Education involved in supporting the identification of schools that can quickly integrate into functional boarding schools. And we need all this, the Ministry of Gender as well. Not Ministry of Gender, the Department of Gender now under the Office of the, I don't know where it's been, it should be Office of the Vice President, I think. No, it's now at Cabinet Office actually. Among the,
yes,
yeah, you have the permanent secretary's special duties. One of them is gender. There is a social aspect to rural constituencies because of all these early marriages, which in customary law are legal, but which in under the penal code are criminal. It's defilement and everything. So at that level, there are a lot of thematic areas and issues that get integrated. But from where I stand now, I can confirm to you that the Minister of Education, Honorable Douglas Siakalima, is passionate about the bringing the girl child back to school. If you have followed his presentations in Parliament, he actually gets emotional about it. So we are getting the right political will from the Ministry of Education in this agenda. The Ministry of Community and Social Security, not so much, because obviously they also have other thematic areas like social cash transfer and so forth they need to do. But as citizens, I feel that in a situation where the government has made deliberate policy to bring so much resources to the very basic units of the community, citizens must take interest in advocating for that no constituency in Zambia must return those funds back to central government. This must be a total demand by the people, because we cannot have a situation where if we are having girl children falling out of school because they are getting pregnant out of doing weekly boardings. Their parents cannot afford to give them resources for meals and so forth, but in them commuting from the weekly boarding back home and they get pregnant, then they fall out of school. So then it now becomes the responsibility of us as members of parliament to ensure that we do not retire funds back. I must ensure that all weekly boardings are made into functional boarding school for us to reduce the dropouts of our girl children.
Yeah, exactly. Those are important points, really, and just the way we are talking about the bursaries for primary and secondary school children. How ready are the communities in your constituency in terms of establishing cooperatives or creating limited companies that could respond in good time to be able to utilize the money that will be made available?
Right now, I'll be very honest with you, Mapanza. The registration of cooperatives is ongoing. There are some youth groups, women groups that have actively registered cooperatives and companies. But to be honest with you, this is really a new thing. So it's requiring a lot of orientation. I speak with so much passion with it because I have seen that access to funds within the same district constituency has not happened for a long time. So, where we are saying that, for example, in Nalolo, any project must be done by cooperatives and companies registered in Nalolo with their citizens in Nalolo, so that the employment creation should start from their constituency. Now, how ready are we? We are just getting ready because, this is a new phenomenon and we have issues of capacity. We've been outsourcing a lot of contractors from outside the constituency because of issues to do with capacity. So even if these cooperatives are actively registering, the question now comes in, do they have the technical and administrative competency to really function, or to deliver? So this is where now, we have to allow experienced entities to work with these cooperatives to capacity build them, as at implementation level. Because the big challenge that we'll have is that, you will have too many cooperatives registered who, even if when given business, depending on what type of business is, cannot deliver. So we are getting ready. And remember that, out of this CDF, we have a component where we need to sponsor, youths to do TVET courses like plumbing, carpentry. So over time, the CDF must build capacity, local capacity. But as it stands now, people are busy registering cooperatives, and we're giving them the support, the sensitization. I've gone around the constituency talking about this. What remains the question is that, the CDF in interpreting it for its access to contracts and so forth should not be politicized. Beneficiaries or contractors, suppliers must be those that can actually deliver. And for those that are new and can deliver, must be given a chance. That is why the key thing that we must look out for is the technical appraisal committee that appraises, these projects. And once a supplier is selected, we would want to ensure that they can deliver. So we are ready, getting ready, and we're trying our best to make people understand that development is not an event. It's a process, and it's a process that we need support as a team, not not in isolation, but as a team. It needs to happen.
Indeed, I foresee a situation where, as you have said, really there is need for capacity building in a number of areas. Those cooperatives that are being formed, those businesses that are being created, for them to start, functioning, they need to have some basic training. And, I don't see the resources in the CDF to address that component. How would you address that? But at the same time, I think that that's an opportunity where, if our councils are alive, and even at the level of ward development committees, we could actually source other resources other than the CDF to address that area of capacity building, so that these institutions that are being created are able to utilize the resources properly. There
is a component in CDF where is allocated for capacity building.
Okay.
And this should come with support from the Ministry of Technology and Science.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the question is that in between now and the capacity building,
Yeah.
how are the resources going to be spent? So you know, and who is the big? So to avoid a total political backlash, obviously, you know, you cannot outsource a contractor from Mongu to Nalolo just to come and paint a police station. You know, the painting is a basic skill. Now, when we come to things like building, you know, if we do not have qualified builders, we need to ensure that they work with the correct builders. So I think the success of this component of capacity building will be seen in the next 2 to 3 years. For now, it's going to be a lot of teething challenges. You wouldn't want to subcontract youths to make desks which you have to replace in the next 6 months. Then it's a wastage of resources. So you would want to ensure that Cooperative A, which is newly registered by youths, and they are saying they want to make cooperatives, must really attend skills training in this area. And in Nalolo we have a skills training center. But like I am saying, you know, it's not going to be easy for the first year, but it's a good start, and it forms the basis of empowerment. This CDF is a great opportunity to create local capacity, and I see it from the context that instead of rushing to just you know, provide access to business, local supply, local contracts to local people, there must be a deliberate passion to ensure that these people build capacity. And, you know, this will reduce on wastage of resources. I just mentioned to you that, you know, remember the Minister of Education did say that, you know, they required about 70 million kwacha to fix blown off roofs of schools, various schools as of last year. And over 90% of these schools were CDF projects. So that should give you an idea of the type of capacity you get from a rural background. So with the huge increase in resources, you know, it now comes a huge, you know, demand to actually even develop TVET programs, build TVET schools. My vision and my plan for my constituency is to have a TVET institution within the constituency in these 5 years.
That's great. You know, there's somebody who comes in and you know, unfortunately he has gone away again. I think he's having challenges. I was hoping that he was going to stay longer this time to give him an opportunity to speak, but I think he has disappeared again. We have roughly about 2 minutes before the end of the program. If you have to talk to your constituency about CDF, I know you have been on the ground, but maybe speak again to your constituency, and as you speak to your constituency, you're also speaking to other Zambians. What did you tell them about this CDF?
Well, basically, CDF is a fund which is meant to enhance and foster development to the people. It's not the MP's fund. It's not the council's fund. These are public resources that should be used to foster development to the people. And as a people, the people of Nalolo in particular, who I represent, have been given an opportunity to decide their destiny or what should be a priority in terms of development in their area. So I really would like to urge, not only people in the constituency, but in my constituency, but in all constituencies, that CDF brings to them an opportunity to participate in development. And, these resources, for the first time in history, have come to their doorsteps. Let them maximize this opportunity, and let them visit the office of their area members of parliament to get more information if they are not aware. Let them visit the council, and there is an open door policy. They should not be scared, because we have told professional assistants who sit in the office of the member of parliament, we have told the council to have an open door policy on any CDF related matter, and that they must continuously engage the people for them to understand how they can access CDF, how they can participate as collectively or individually. So for me, my commendation is that CDF is yours, is for the people. Let us do it. We as members of parliament are your servants, and as your servants, we are ready to provide leadership. We are ready to be accountable, and to my goal is to ensure that CDF in my constituency works, and I should be able to point what has the 25.7 million done. I must be able to account for that, and I cannot do this as an individual. It's collectively, because of the integrated participation. So in summary, Mapanzi, that is what I can say, that the people of Nalolo, brace yourself. We have an opportunity. We are going to do it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and when is now. We have no choice. If the money is given to us now, which we're still waiting for the second batch, we have no excuse not to develop. There'll be totally no excuse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable WAMUNYIMA, for making an appearance on TV BAKWETUS on this program dubbed Hearing from the Constituencies. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your contribution, and we look forward to hearing more success stories in your constituency, and obviously other constituencies throughout the country. For tonight, I say bye for now. Until next Saturday, this is Mapanzi Nkwilimba of TV BAKWETUS. Bye.